Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show, where we celebrate the innovators driving change in the education industry. At Edison OS, we've worked with over 500 knowledge entrepreneurs to turn their edtech ideas into profitable businesses. Hello, Sujit and Anjan.
Hi.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Anjan. Good afternoon, Sujit. Thank you so much for accepting to be a part of this podcast.
It's my pleasure.
Um,
Pleasure.
Thank you, and taking your valuable time out for this. So, my name is Jagmoan, and I'm the host for this show called the Knowledge Entrepreneur Show. So, I will start off this podcast with a very simple question, very open-ended question as well, from a perspective of connecting with the audience that are listening to us. Before we dive, deep dive into Infidia, your company, I'd like to know more about Sujit and Anjan. So we can start off with Anjan, alphabetical order.
Sure.
So
Anyway,
Anjan, if you can, talk us through your journey, your story of where you started and what has led you to come here and be a part of Infidia.
okay. So, Jagmohan, it's a pleasure to be on your show. Um,
Thank you, Anjan.
Basically, I am an ex-banker. I was into a leading private sector bank, and I was there for almost a decade. So, I come from a financial services background. I started my career in the financial services sector and then moved into banking.
Right.
Now this is quite a different shift, if you say, coming into the knowledge domain. Now, while we were working, we were exposed to a lot of L&D opportunities that we used to get for upgrading our skills within the organization.
Right.
Now I happened to attend a program which was conducted by a gentleman called Mr. Shankar. That was way back in 2012. Now when I attended that program, something happened in me. I wanted to be in the learning and development domain. So thereafter 2 years passed by, and then Sujit would be talking more about him, but we were colleagues in the same organization. So we thought of doing something in the L&D domain, and in 2014 we started this company Infidia. Basically, it started off with a offline learning domain where we primarily cater to B2B corporate clients till the pandemic happened. So we were doing training for different corporates. So basically, we used to get trainers who would be the best fit for. We used to get the contract from different corporates, and we used to deploy different trainers across the country. Apart from that, we also used to do a lot of workshops, in Kolkata, we then Bangalore, Gurgaon, Noida. So we used to do a lot of workshops there as well. Then when the pandemic hit, what happened is that everything closed down, as you all know.
Right.
I mean, all the corporate contracts started drying out, and so we were forced to think differently.
Right.
So at that point in time, uh, our companies who were working in the same domain, our industry colleagues, as we would call them, not competitors, they are industry colleagues, because we help them in different way, they also help us in different way. So our industry colleagues got into online training. Now we also went into that space, but what we realized is that live online training is a perishable commodity. Say I train you right now, you attend my training session, or whosoever is training, and then after a couple of hours when the training is over, even if I have some doubt, it's very difficult to get back. So
Right.
that is the point when we got into the area of pre-recorded learning videos. So that is where we started our online journey. So Infidia.in got into this LMS portal, and then we went into the retail market. And thankfully, during the pandemic, everybody was there stuck at their home, and we were able to expand across the country into the retail market, retail sector. And then after 2 years, when the everything went back to normalcy. So now we have your B2B clients whom we were serving already. They are still there with us. We have our normal workshop. Additionally, we have our online learning. So this has been our journey throughout from the time we started. Uh, being a banker, then coming into L&D. Sujit will tell his story, somewhat similar because he was also my colleague in the bank. So Sujit
Right.
can tell you that part of his story.
Thank you, Anjan. Sujit, over to you.
Yeah. So the story happened when I am basically a science graduate. I graduated by taking
Okay.
science in my graduation. I had chemistry as my honors subject, and I was always a medical aspirant. I because
Okay.
society, peer pressure, and everybody has scripted it in our minds. Either you have to go into engineering field or you have to go into the medical field. So just like
Right.
anybody else, I also started to prepare for my JE mains, and then I shifted my career. I post graduated from ICFI Hyderabad. After that, the first industry that I joined was the pharma industry. Since I always had a inclination towards chemicals and plant life, animal life, and all these sort of things, I was very interested in medicine as a part of my interest area. So then it so happened, like in the year 2000, 2005, I came to know that there was a boom in banking. The banking industry as a whole was booming. At that point of time, I thought that I should shift my gears now. It's high time. And so I made a shift to banking industry, and there is that is the inflection point where I met Anjan. So both of us were working in a department, department, and then I moved to a different department. Anjan also moved to different department, and for a couple of years we were not in touch since the geographical area was quite different. So meeting was barely a chance. So we could only talk about the phone. And as Anjan has highlighted, there was always an interest in learning and development, because if you're a part of a banking sector, you always come across people, those who are knowledge. Since it's a knowledge intensive industry, we used to get a lot of opportunities to attend programs, both domain specific as well as soft skills. So that is a point when uh, aspiration of a trainer came inside me. I thought that it's better if I can pivot myself and join myself as a trainer in some other company or in HDFC, because in a bank there is an option wherein you can always go for switching from one department to another department. But things were different. There were no openings, and finally Anjan had come into the picture. We decided, and then we quit our jobs to start our company in the year 2014. Primarily, we started off as trainers. And in the year 2015-16, we have trained a few educational institutes, including IITs, and also few corporates. But then, after a year or so, we finally realized that it is getting difficult to scale, because once you are a freelancer and you are focusing only on the content management part, you are not very bothered about the market. You are not able to find out what is the opportunity size, what is the total addressable market. So what happened was that we thought of shifting gears, and then we totally focused into building up this market. And as Anjan has said, then we slowly moved into making of Infidia, and then our journey started from the year 2014. That is how it started.
Got it, Sujit. Thank you. So, Sujit, when you said, 2005 is when you thought you need to get into the banking domain, but, your interests, of course, you've done your business administration, and then you got into a pharma company, and then, you wanted to get into banking because you thought banking is something that's got a greater scope at that point in time, right? Uh, when you got into banking, what was the role that you were doing in pharma, and what was the role that you got into as when you shifted from pharma to banking?
I joined as a management trainee. So the first 6 to 7 months was a grilling exercise in which you have to visit different territories into the interiors of West Bengal and find out. That was almost like a job of a medical representative, but it was more exhaustive. You need to talk with the doctors, you need to deal with the distributors, the retailers. So I was not very happy with my job profile in pharma because I thought I demanded more. Because at that point of time,
Right.
since I kept a tab on the industry, I thought, and it was in the news also that banking was a booming sector. So the difficulty that I faced while transitioning from pharma to banking was that there were opportunities, but as you see that everybody checks the background as to where are you coming from.
Right.
So it was very difficult from my part to get into banking. Then an insurance company, I won't take the name, that helped me in cementing the gap. Once I joined the
Hmm.
insurance industry and I spent a considerable amount of time, that helped me to bridge the career, and then I found myself to be easily employable in the banking
Got
sector.
it.
I joined as assistant sales manager.
So you were in the sales domain in the
Yeah,
banking
I
thing
was in the
when you
sales
got
domain.
it. Got it. And Anjan, what about you?
I started off in the financial services sector primarily when I started off my career. I was also in the sales domain. I used to look after the commercial vehicle financing. So that was also in deep interior pockets of Odisha. I started off there. I started my career in Odisha
Right.
into absolute rural markets. Then, after working there for a couple of years, I moved into banking. At the bank, I joined as a sales manager, then went into Ancient W client handling. So, when I left the organization, I was managing a portfolio of high net worth individuals. So, that has been my journey. And I mean, the entire journey, if I say, they were all into the sales domain. So right, yeah,
Sales domain.
yeah.
Got it. Got it. And I mean, so did you, both of you, I mean, you can definitely answer individually. When you started off your jobs, right, early, like say 2000, early 2000s, after you graduated and all those things, did you get into jobs thinking, I'm going to have a career path, grow in the corporate ladder? Or did you have that desire for entrepreneurship starting itself? If you did not, what was that point in both of your lives, where you thought of entrepreneurship for the first time?
See, honestly speaking, uh, if you come from middle class Indian background, entrepreneurship, and if you're not coming from a business family, entrepreneurship is the last thing in your mind.
Yeah.
So, to be very honest, we never thought of entrepreneurship till probably 2013-14. So we were into our jobs, we were working there, we were quite stable because we did not hop companies very often. But then probably this entire decision happened in a year or so because um, you know at that point in time when we left, we were already married with kids. So at that point, what happens is that the risk taking capability keeps on declining. So
Yeah.
when one day I remember I was discussing with Sujit, and we said that this is the point. If we can take a risk, we have to take it now, because beyond a point we are probably even us. I mean, we have also started late, because if you start entrepreneurship, people start in their 20s. You have a lot of time in hand to make so many mistakes. As you get into entrepreneurship, you make mistakes and then you learn.
Right.
And when we realize that yes, we want to get there, because we have seen the corporate world. Okay, it's okay, it's I mean, financially it was quite rewarding, but somehow after working for a decade or so, you feel a bit stuck somewhere. I mean, then you think of doing something which does not have a boundary per se. And
Right.
we were trying to pursue something where we had to do a lot of unlearning and start off from fresh. So that was exciting for us, number one. So at that point, we thought of taking the risk, because if we waited for another 5 years, probably we would not have got that courage to start off. So I
Right.
mean, if you ask me my opinion, thought of entrepreneurship, no. We thought in 2013-14, we probably thought in 13 and then took the step in 14, because we were already late by then. I mean, if you there is, I mean, again, uh, there is no right age to take this decision, but people
Yes.
do get into entrepreneurship at 50s also, 40s also. So uh,
Yeah.
so we were in our mid 30s at that point in time, and we realized that if we are not taking this decision now, probably there won't be a room for that many mistakes once you are into the journey. So that is what pushed us into entrepreneurship at that point in time. Sujit, if you can add to this.
Anjan, before I go to
Yeah,
Sujit, just one
please.
follow-up question, right? So you said, 2013 is when you kind of, started thinking about entrepreneurship. What was the trigger point?
Um,
What triggered you?
See, honestly, I'll tell you that day in 2012, when I went to attend that session, I had attended many sessions, but this gentleman, Mr. Jayashankar,
Jai Shankar,
whom we
right?
call our mentor, when I attended his session, there was something in that
Right.
session where which was very captivating. I mean, it was very different, and I immediately wanted to be a part of the L&D domain per se. Um, so, if you are talking about a single trigger point that started,
Got it.
I mean, that planted a seed wherein I started
Right.
thinking. And then the
Right.
first option was to get into L&D domain within the organization. Um,
Got it.
we could take a shift into the L&D department and continue with their career, but again, we thought of breaking out and doing something right from the scratch and starting up and building something. And when I Sujit was, anyways, I knew Sujit, but when I realized that he's also having a common goal, so we thought of getting together and starting.
Got it, Anjan. So, Sujit, you already said, you started off, given, we back in the day, you had options mainly about engineering or medicine, and then, you took up JE exams. And, you've told that you clearly had when you describe your journey, it was not that you wanted to become an entrepreneur and then, you were looking to build a career in the corporate. So, what was it for you? And what was that point, where you thought you wanted to jump into entrepreneurship? Was it the same workshop that Anjan is talking about, which was also a changing point for you, or what was it for you?
To be honest, I came to know about Jaishankar from Anjan because I have never met that gentleman. Though
Okay.
after meeting him, I could really find that he was captivating, and his influence is quite high. So
Right.
he can provoke your thoughts. So
Got it.
coming back to the trigger point, there were multiple trigger points, to be honest, because leaving a job and diving into something, into a sea which is totally an unknown area, is quite difficult. Multiple trigger points in the sense, uh, in my bank, I have worked in six different departments, from collections to merchant acquisition to sales to operations. In every
Right.
field, this is whatever I'm saying with no offense meant. Every company has got their own policies, their own dictum in place. So what I
Right.
used to see that I had one particular skill that I think I was good, even uh, uh, that is sales. So while I was in sales,
Right.
I could find out that I could utilize my sales skills in ramping up the numbers, because in sales department that is typically the company looks out for. But what happens is that when you are positioned in a area where you have that geographical spread, that your limitation is till point A or point B, and you cannot cross till C. But your inner child says that your aspirations are quite high. You say, why B, why C, why not C, why not X, why not Z? So that was the first time when I realized that I am having some self-limiting beliefs. Self-limiting beliefs in the sense, if I'm also trying to come out of my shell and I would like to try to prove myself, that was not given to me by the company. This is again no
Yes.
offense meant to my company, my alma mater, but then I thought, if I have the skills, then why not utilize it for myself?
Right.
That was a trigger point. This happened in multiple departments. That was one of the reasons. And secondly, after meeting Anjan, when we started talking about this was the initial days in 2012, 2013, we thought of building something which should be larger than life. It should not be limited to ourselves only. It should not be limited to Anjan or Sujit. The common goal should be such, like it has to be more bigger than ourselves, our own selves. So these were the multiple trigger points which ultimately propelled me to, it acted as a catalyst to start off with our own venture. That's about it.
Got it, Sujit. Very interesting because, I was going to ask you how much, usually, right, when somebody is in sales, I've been in sales myself, of course, not in the banking thing. And I've also heard, I'm not sure how it was back then when you were in 2005 to 2014, but I've met people when they were in sales during the time of 2018, 2017. And banking sales is like pretty, it's quite tight, right? It's not very comfortable. They push your boundaries. It's a very difficult job. And if you can spend a couple of years in that kind of an atmosphere, your confidence level goes up when compared to other things. And I think that is what Sujit was talking about when he said that, he was into sales, but then, obviously when you're working in a large organization, you're going to have territorial limits and you can only operate within the territory. Then probably, Sujit, you felt that if I can do so much within this limiting territory, then if I can probably break away from this territorial thing, I anyway have the sales skills, I can do a lot more. So that is what you meant to say. Am I correct?
Yes.
You wanted to, and I see that sales has somehow been that confidence booster for both of you when you have to, because whenever you start a new business, whenever an entrepreneurial venture is begun, one of the most toughest part is sales, like getting new customers. So now I want to ask you this question, right? How much of an impact or a difference has being in sales, having a sales background? How easy was it for you to consider this decision of jumping into entrepreneurship? Was that even a factor for you
Absolutely,
both?
absolutely. That was a factor because what we realized is that I might have a domain knowledge, a domain expertise, but
Right,
at the core, as you rightly mentioned, in the initial years, the core area where you need to focus is sales. Because
right,
I might have an excellent content, I might have an excellent training program lined up, but unless and until I find that customer or a client who would deploy me, I am nowhere. So when we started off our organization, our primary focus was even today. I won't lie. Even today, Sujit and I spend 90% of our time on sales because that is very important.
right,
Unless and until I could sell something, uh, even an excellent product could not be sold unless a proper selling channel is used. So that
right.
was absolutely an important factor, as you rightly said, in taking this decision. I mean, in fact, from day one, we got into sales first. I mean, that is how it started.
Right, right. Great. Sujit, if you can walk us through both of your journey within your organization. So when did you first meet? And, if you can like dive a little deeper into what was the conversations that happened between you and as co-founders, right? One of the important things for any entrepreneurial venture is to choose co-founders, have the right co-founders. Having a co-founder itself is another topic, to have or not to have, it's got its pros and cons. But then, when you have a co-founder, it's got a lot of advantages. And then, what did it take for you both to decide, okay, Sujit is good for me, Anjan is good for me?
To answer that, it's quite difficult to tell because there are a few things that there. If you, I don't know whether you believe in the concept of something getting clicked. So
Yeah,
something you can call it serendipity because opportunity was there, and we could find no better person than each other. I mean, for me, Anjan was the right person. For Anjan, I was the right
right,
person. And when
right,
we started to talk more about entrepreneurship, taking it forward, having a vision for
Right.
5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, because this is
Right.
not something that you start off and then you forget and then afterwards you start off once again. So it has to be a complete journey.
Right.
So increasingly what happened was that when we started conversing regularly on the topics about our entrepreneur journey, what are the expectations, how can we achieve our goals, so we could see a significant overlap in our thoughts, in our thought processes, and probably that acted as a catalyst, and we thought we are good to go. It takes two to tango.
Right. So, how many years did you guys know each other before starting off
I think
Infidia?
since 2007, 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years,
Yes.
7 years.
2007 years. And both of you were in the same team or something?
We
Like, how
were,
did the
yeah,
building of
we were in
rapport
the
happen?
same team for about a year or so. That was way back in 2007.
Okay.
Uh, mm, After 2007, we were back in the same team in Infidia. Not, I mean, in between, we were in different teams, different geographical locations in the.
Geography is altogether.
So, but yes, we were in
So
touch.
in between,
We were in touch, and we used to talk a lot about what is going on in our individual, because he was in a different department. He was doing something totally different from what I was doing in the organization. So we used to be in touch, talk about each other's work area, probably take suggestions as to where I used to go wrong. I used to ask Sujit what would be the best thing to do, and likewise Sujit also used to consult me whenever he needed something, a suggestion or an advice. So we were always in touch that way. And then 2013-14, we got a common ground and we started off.
and probably to add on to what Anjan has said, probably it all happens with one single incident. Probably that was the first incident when we came to know that our likings do match, because when we were in sales, there was a long period of time when we did not meet each other, and neither we got time to speak to each other because of our own departmental pressures and all domain specific pressures.
Yeah.
We could find out after a long time that both of us has an interest in learning and development, and we both were trying to get into the learning and development domain inside our banks. And then finally we realized that both of us are aspiring to take a certificate that is called some banking certificate, wherein it enables you to go into the training domain.
Got it.
So that was where we thought we would gel with each other properly, and it worked out well.
Great. So, both of you were in sales. How much percentage of the decision to move into L&D was get away from sales, and it was due to the interest in L&D?
We have not gotten away from sales. We are
Yeah,
into
yeah, yeah. I
sales.
knew. You just wanted to sell
Yes,
different things.
that's
That's
it.
it.
That's it.
Yes.
We always wanted to be in the sales domain, in fact.
Got it. Just that it wasn't to be in the banking thing. You wanted to
Yes,
sell
yes.
something else from an L&D perspective. Got it. So now let's move on to Infidia. You started in 2014, but before you started in 2014, you said both of you were married. You had
Yes,
kids
absolutely.
by the time you started Infidia, and I'm sure in India when people get married, one of the important things that is looked into is what is the job the groom holds, and they look at it from a future perspective, right? But then you after you marry, you're planning to do this. Like, what was the family situation like? Was the family supportive for both of you, or did you have to convince, or were you financially secure? What was that all about? Like, can you walk us
Yes,
through your
yes, I'll tell
thought
you.
process, please?
One big advantage that both of us had was that by the time we started Infidia, we made sure that we did not have any loans in the market. I mean, we were loan free,
Right.
absolutely debt free. So,
Right.
whatever vehicle loan or housing loan that we had, we made sure that we are out of it. So,
Right.
because that drags you down, because when you are getting into entrepreneurship, next 3-4 years, you might not be earning as much as you're doing now. Um,
Right.
again, in my case, my wife was working, so financially there was some kind of a support. But yes, convincing, that is done. And again, one thing, when young entrepreneurs or young students who want to get into the entrepreneurship asks us that, what kind of support did you get from your families? So I would sum it up in this way, that if you are getting into entrepreneurship and looking for or seeking support, then you better stay out of it, because from day one, if you're asking for support, whether it is psychological support or whatever way, uh, if you're expecting that someone will, when, if someone supports me, then only I'll be in this journey, your conviction should be strong enough, so that even if you do not get anybody's support, you can carry on with the journey. If you get support, that's fine, that's an added bonus. So that was the primary philosophy through which we started. So yeah, in my case, the one factor was that I was loan free, and second, my wife was working, so somewhat, even if I'm not earning for the next x number of years, the financial part somehow gets taken care of.
Got it, Anjan. Sujit?
Yeah, to add to what Anjan has said, both the things also match with me since my wife was also working. But then there are some societal pressures also, where you see that typically family, I hail from a middle class family,
Right,
middle class Bengali family, and it is very difficult, for a family to come in terms with entrepreneurship
right,
initially,
right,
because my parents have already seen people, those who are working in our families, they have never gone out of their ways to start a business or start their own venture. So definitely family pressure was there, because when you are graduating out and when you are starting to work out somewhere, there are unrealistic expectations from the family point also,
right,
that you will grow, growing is a different thing. I mean, it also happens in entrepreneurship as well, but some somewhat like people are not able, people, I mean, I will record the thing, family members won't have that vision to think about the growth path in a entrepreneurship career as well.
right.
So when we joined entrepreneurship, one thing was very clear for my case. I mean, I'm sure Anjan will also add to me that we would burn bridges. I mean, burn bridges in the sense, if we are diving into entrepreneurship, we will never come back. We will never have a second thought about coming back to our salaried profile,
Got it.
because 90% of people, when they start entrepreneurship, they have a safety net. They think if it doesn't work out, I will work out there is always a plan B to fall back on. So in our case, we did not have an option. We thought either plan A or plan A itself, nothing else. So that was our driving force, and that is how things started out, and it shaped itself.
I mean,
Great.
Jack, you cannot blame the family, because uh, when you are working with a big brand and you're doing good for
Right,
yourself financially, otherwise, when people at your home see that you're getting promotions, you are, I mean, working with a big organization where you have a future, then you suddenly uh, uh, say that I'm leaving everything and coming into entrepreneurship. So that apprehension is always there for the family, but again, someone needs to convince them, and it's difficult but
right.
not impossible.
Got it. No, I think it's a very interesting point that Sujit said. Not having a plan B. I've heard that from a lot of people, because the moment you have plan B, it means that you have a
Right.
choice. But we behave as human beings. We behave differently when we have a choice and we when we do not have a choice. Um, even though practically you might have had a safety net, but I think mentally it's better to operate from a point that you don't have a safety net, and then that will make you do things in a more extreme fashion, or get things done, whatever needs to be done. So both of you guys, your expertise lied in sales, but then you wanted to get into learning and development. Now, did you become trainers yourselves, or did you only want to run a business where you'd hire trainers? What was the plan like?
To start off with, there was no because when you make a transition from being a salaried to a businessman, you only have the capability and the ability to see what is directly in front of you. You are not able to gauge the entire landscape or the entire path in which you are trying to go.
Right.
So when we started off as trainers only, because we
Okay.
thought being self-employed, being a freelancer is all about business.
Right.
If you are on your own and if you are training people, if you are getting contracts from companies, and if you are associated with big companies, that itself proves that you are self-employed or you are starting having a business of your own.
Right.
So when we started off as trainers, we also did train the trainer certification just to add the icing on the cake,
Yeah.
so that there is an acceptability factor in the market, and so that people recognizes us as trainers,
Yeah.
to add on to the skill which we already had in our CVs.
Right.
So we started off with yes, of course, we started off with schools. I mean, these schools. We started off with corporates. Handful of corporates we had trained, some SMEs in and around Kolkata, West Bengal, and we had also trained IITs, IIT Kharagpur, and there are few engineering colleges in Orissa.
Right.
So couple of colleges here and there, couple of corporates, and that's it. When we were treading on this path, then a thought came to our mind that is this all? Is this all about entrepreneurship? Then all of a sudden it struck like a lightning. All of a sudden there was a vision that was in front of us. Like probably we are self-limiting ourselves.
Right.
We should think something bigger than this.
Right.
Then the idea of starting our own company came into mind, and then we started off with it.
Got it. So,
And of course, sorry for interrupting. And
no
of
problem.
course, one more reason was the scalability, because uh, in business, there are two kind of businesses. One is system dependent, and one is the people dependent business.
Right.
So the more we went into our careers down the line, we thought of creating a system dependent company, so that it operates as a full-time business. That's how we switched from being a freelance trainer to a corporate as a startup.
Got it. So, 2014, you started as freelancers, and then Infidia came, or Infidia started in 2014, and you started as freelancers a couple of years before that?
Infidia was started. I mean, we started Infidia in 2014 itself, but the initial uh, around 6 to 7 months journey was as freelancers. I mean, I would take up some
Got it.
assignments, Sujit would take up some assignments, but it all came under Infidia only. And then we
Got it.
moved into getting contracts, corporate contracts, and then deploying trainers out there.
Okay. So you skilled yourselves for to become a trainer while you were working itself. You
Right,
put some
right.
time away for that, or did you take away some time after you quit the jobs? Then you skilled yourself to become trainer. How did that go?
During our tenure in HDFC, we were already thinking of relocating ourselves into the training domain. So that mind shift happened from before only.
Right.
It was not like we quit our jobs and then the training opportunity arose and then we acted as trainers. It's not like that. That thing was inside our minds. The only thing was that we had taken train the trainer certification, and that's it. And whatever time we used to get, we used to train corporates, train colleges, and that added to our skills. That's it.
Got it. Okay. So, you were in sales. Being in sales, obviously, talking to new people is not going to be a problem. That is part and parcel of the sales job. But when you transition into training, it is slightly different because, you need to put on a show. It's not only about delivering content, right? It's also a little bit of performance because there's just one person, you're addressing an audience of, say, 30, 50, 100 people. So, can you describe how did you land your first clients as trainers, both of you, and what was the experience like? For a moment, did you feel, did you have self doubts when you started off, or were you both naturals? What was that like?
See, talking about getting our first assignment, there were few things that was shadowing our mind. The first was that there was too much of unrealistic expectations from the market.
Okay.
Okay. And the second thing was that we thought that it's going to be very easy in the training domain. Since being trainer is very easy, we thought first of all. And when we started off with cold calls, plain cold calls. There are instances, there are days when I remember me and Anjan, we used to travel 110, 120 kilometers with our bikes.
Right.
And we used to do some 30, 40, in a particular month, if I remember correctly, we did something around 200, 250 calls put together in a month.
Right.
And these are the numbers are, if you compare with the industries, other industries, these numbers might sound a bit less, but again, if you see that these are typically B2B calls, these are not like
Yeah.
wherein
Yeah.
you barge into a company, you knock the doors and you have to get an appointment, you have to. So the initial days were like, we used to sit in the first week, we used to take appointments when our days were fully filled with appointments. Say for example, we are starting on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We used to block our dates, 7 8 calls, and these were not typically inside the city limits of Kolkata. There were far off places
Right.
in other districts.
Right.
We used to travel and we used to visit them. And for this was typically for colleges and B schools, and for corporates we used to take appointments, proper appointments before visiting. Few of them, I would not say that all of them were by taking appointments. We used to cold calls also. We used to do cold calls also. Yeah.
Got great, interesting. Because I thought, usually whenever I've spoken to at least, 3 to 4 trainers or coaches here from the south as well as from the central India, from Maharashtra. Most of them started off with referrals because they accidentally started. They didn't have a plan, and their sales approach. Not even one coach or trainer that I've spoken to so far, they have this kind of a sales approach, right? I'm so glad that I'm talking to you, because you're the first trainers who are talking about cold calling, who are talking about, the organized business development. Obviously, probably, you having a sales background really helps there. And, but, what was your conversion like? You said, you used to make 250 calls every single month. Like, I mean, to start off with, both of you combined, put together. What was how many meetings would you book for the 250 calls that you used to make?
250 calls. These are all physical visits. These are not
250 physical
appointments.
visits. They
These are all physical
appointments
Wow.
only.
visits.
In a
Yes.
single month.
Both of us put
Yes.
together.
Wow. So let's say, even 100 for that matter, you're talking about 3 to 4 meetings per single
We
day,
went
visiting
for
people
days
three to
Yes.
without
four.
lunch because we used to start early in the morning, and we used to have calls lined up. Like Sujit said, that there were instances where they are these mostly if you are talking about engineering colleges, if they are corporates, they are well within the city limits. But if they are engineering colleges or management colleges, they are in different districts as well. So uh, wherever we had appointment, we went there, met the concerned person, we showed them our profile, we tried to understand their learning and development needs, um, what all subjects or topics they train on, and then uh, probably try and get a contract from them. So these 200s were all physical calls. I mean, going and meeting these people,
Or,
because that is something that was the thing we
to
knew,
be
because we were always into sales. This was not new for us.
sales. Yeah. No, it's not new, but it's, to be quite frank, it's unbelievable. Crazy. I mean, not that I don't believe, but it is like
Yeah,
quite crazy to have like
exactly,
so
because
much.
even when we look at those days now, even we find it quite crazy, because um, at that point in time, one thing went into our head, that uh, whatever we are doing now, we are doing it for ourselves. So we were not tired. We
Right,
did not
right.
have to report to anyone. Uh, it was all a self-driving force. That was, nobody used to tell us in the morning that these clients you have to meet. So since it was coming from within, so that energy
Right.
got into the system and we could run around.
And the yes, please, please, yeah.
No, I just wanted to add on to what Anjan had said. That inner force was, that inner drive was there. So we had strongly believed one thing, that the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. So that kept us going.
Right, right. You made sure the plant grows, and then you pluck the fruits
Absolutely.
out of it. Great. But
Yes.
your lead generation process was, did your a decade's career in banking help you with all that contacts? Did you use those contacts and references for this, or you
Very
started from
interesting question.
scratch?
When we left the organization, uh, we thought that we know so many people in the industry and we would have a sizable chunk of business from here. But
Right.
the harsh reality was something very different. So yes, there was
Okay.
we got our first contract from our ex colleague who was working somewhere, so he was basically a friend. That was different. But apart from him, we did not get till date. I mean, this is probably the 8th year running. We did not get a single contract from any of our banking references. So they were
Right.
all new. And we had to do a lot of unlearning because we had that. I mean, when we came out of the bank, we had certain belief systems, certain thought process. We needed to unlearn that and go for it. I'll tell you one small instance. So initially, when we were doing so many calls, we were not getting projects. So one day we decided, let's do one thing. We need to start off as trainers. So that we need to do. We need to test whether, I mean, we are being capable of imparting a training program or not. So we said that we'll visit a few colleges, few engineering colleges, and say that we would do a campus to corporate program and we'll offer this program to you for free. So fair deal. So I'll give you this program, and it's free of cost. We won't charge anything. We just wanted to get an entry. So we went to a college, very renowned college in the city, and the TPO, training and placement officer, was sitting across the table. So the first thing he asked is, I understand you're ex-bankers, but what experience do you have in this field? So anyways, we tackled that question and said that, see, we are not charging anything. So this is anyways coming free to you. So he said that, will the venue be yours? I said, no, your auditorium will do. How long will it take? So I said that we can do a full day program. So do you know how much would be the electricity bill? It's free for you, it's not free for us. So even if we are doing a program for free, we need to get the students out of their classroom. That day they couldn't be deployed in their classes. They would be sitting in your program. My ACs will run, my electricity will run. So I have to bear a cost. So that was a shocker. In fact, we thought
Right.
that, okay, when we go out and say it's a free program, everybody will jump in to take the service. But again, that these were
Right.
small unlearnings that happen when you are new in the journey. Then everything slowly settled down and we got our first project finally.
It's great because I've been, quite frankly, I've been uh, uh, listening to people talking about just referrals, networking, relationships, and all those things. And I was like, look, man, I mean, somebody who's starting
Right.
out, right? They won't have
Very true.
relationships, they won't have contacts. And you, despite having the kind of contacts that you had from a decade long experience with banks and, all the network you would have built, you're saying, you still had to start from scratch. And, you shared a very interesting incident where you were ready to offer it for free, but still the colleges were looking at the expenses that they would incur. And in this situation, what was your process like when you would see 250, let's say 100 meetings each? You did 100 meetings, you did 100 meetings, and I have a little bit of experience from sales. And to get 100 meetings, you probably will have to make at least 300 calls, right? Every call you make, you're not going to get a meeting, right? There is a certain ratio to calls made to a certain meeting and all those things. So, did you simply did you not tell anything on the phone? You simply asked for a meeting, or what was your pitch like? What did you talk to get that appointment going? And, what would you like to tell to all the beginners? How would they approach? Has anything changed from 2014 to today?
Well, I think you cannot go with a fixed approach. Uh, it's always better to call, take an appointment, and visit. But when you're calling 300 people, you might not get across everybody. Let's say out of 300 people, 100 people pick up your phone, or at least listens to you. Probably you take an appointment there. Out of
Right,
100, maybe you visit 50. But what do you do with those
right,
contact points where they have not picked up the phone? Do you leave them? They are still potential clients, so
right,
there you have to visit, you have to get crash.
right,
Most important is to for anybody who is starting new, uh, try. I mean, today everything is available online. In 2014, things were a bit difficult, but data is very important. I mean, data as in, we went to the extent of collecting visiting cards from friends, whosoever they. I mean, we had friends working in different banks, so they regularly go on calls. They have a bunch of visiting cards they anyways throw away. So we called them up and said that
right,
when you ever think that your bag is full of visiting cards and you plan to throw them away, you give us a call. We went to kabari walas, uh, paper I mean places where old we started looking for club diaries. We started looking for, we used to ask them that whenever any chamber of commerce directory comes to you, please give it to us, we'll pay for it. So these are different database, maybe because these, if you are getting a directory from a chamber of commerce, there you'll have the direct contact of CEO of any company. So first you need to get the right database, if I say, and then you get into the call. And the efforts that we
right,
uh, put in the first years, those 250 calls or 300 calls, whatever we did, they are reaping benefits even till today. I mean, it's not that those 250 calls gave business in
right.
the first year. It's not like that, but we are still getting business from there. We are getting new
Correct.
clients from those calls because we keep in touch. We send them mailers. We wish them on probably a new year or something. We keep in touch, at least wherever there has been a physical contact. You need not go every time. You
Right.
need to, repeat your visits. But if you keep in touch, you'll have a constant, a steady flow of clients into your business.
Got it. And you spoke about having the data of people and their numbers and all those things, and obviously it's going to be cold calls, it's not targeted data and stuff like that. And you interestingly mentioned, you spoke about CEOs, getting CEOs numbers. Now, is it a good strategy for people to directly call CEOs and introduce, or is it better to first call somebody below the CEO? Because CEO sometimes, the top person, the top people will always be busy, and it can backfire sometimes. So how would what would you
If
say
you're
about
getting the
this
number
particular
from a
thing?
directory, be almost 100% sure that number won't be CEO's personal number. So that would be a board number. So when you call the board number, you ask for the CEO. So naturally they won't say that. Then you have to ask that I want to
Yeah,
meet the, I'm into learning domain. I want to meet the L&D manager or if it is in the case of a college, I want to meet the training and placement officer. I please direct me out there. So you're not
right,
disturbing the CEO, but if you're reaching there, at least you will be directed to the right
Right.
channel. So mostly they, if you are talking
Right.
about a directory, mostly they are landline numbers. Even if it is a
Okay.
mobile, the max it would be the CEO secretary. You would reach till there. No need to talk to the CEO. You can always ask for the relevant person who would help you out. So that's the process that we used to follow.
Got it.
And to add to what Anjan has said, like you need minimum 3 to 4 attempts to reach to the right person. I
Right.
mean, it's very unlikely that on the first call you call somebody and that person will give you an appointment. At least 3 to 4 attempts has to be made in order to reach the right person to take your proposal forward.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I got it. And when you've got an appointment, when you're going to go meet somebody, uh, what is your plan when you go and meet? Like, as I asked you, right, you just ask for an appointment, and you say that broadly you're talking about you're from a learning and development program and all those things. I'm not sure if you're even asking them if there is a need, because that is the wrong question to ask over a call, right? It's easily, they can shut you
Right.
down by saying that there is no need on all those things. um, what I'm trying to ask you is, has there been an instance, where you've gone and met somebody, and you've taken an appointment where they already have systems and processes for their trainings in place? How do you convince somebody who's already got everything settled? Has there been an incident where you've replaced somebody after something? Can you share some story? What is the method that you approach that when they say that, what, we already have great trainers? How do you handle this objection?
Right. So I will, pardon me, I will not use the company's name because since this would be on an open platform,
Sure, sure,
so
sure.
many people would be watching this video. So it so happened that we knew that the client was a very big client.
Right.
We found out the main authority's number. We spoke to him.
Right.
Before that, we did the complete homework
Okay.
as to that person is very influential and he used to be in news
Mm-hmm.
in all meetings with stakeholders or in media. We used to first of all we did the homework very well
Right.
about his company, what was the revenue, what was the profits that he had booked last year, and to some extent his family life. I mean, it was not like trespassing into somebody's information, but anything and everything that was
Yeah.
on the public domain, on
Yeah.
the internet, on the YouTube and other sites. So we frankly believe that the first few seconds is very important.
Okay.
If you are able to make a first good impression, then you are through with it, because that liking has to be developed. We still believe that business comes after that person likes you. So somewhat you have to be likable in front of that person. So talking about this particular case, everybody loves to hear about himself,
Right.
about the accomplishments that somebody has made in his lifetime.
Right.
So we had used that card. We talked to him about the various things that he has achieved in his career and how impressed we are to be in his company at his premises, since he has given us 10 minutes of precious time to meet him. And then slowly we graduated into understanding the budget, because
Hmm.
in a typical conversation what happens is that free flow has to be there, wherein the other person, you cannot put into a situation wherein that other person becomes conscious.
Right.
Initially when you develop a liking for someone and if you ask them a favor, they won't say no. Then it was like we came to know that they already had a training vendor for the past 7 years that was from Delhi,
Right.
and few attempts were made and the regular calls were done. Wishes on new year, on any occasion was done. And this is how we understood the entire landscape of the training gamut that that company had, the number of trainers that company had employed, particularly the vendor that they had employed. And slowly and steadily we made inroads, and that client is still with us. So this is one of our big success stories in the B2B segment, you can say.
This is awesome. I'm just going to like dig a little deeper, just because I think this is a very, very important, it could be a very important insightful lesson. So you said that when you are faced with a situation where whatever services you're offered is being offered by somebody who's already established, it is not yet time to give up on them. You're telling just be in touch with
Absolutely.
them, and then just build a relationship. You're going to wait for some crack, and then you're going to get into it. Now, how
Absolutely.
you said very importantly, it cannot be made obvious that you know what, I'm a sales guy, I'm here to find a crack, I'm going to ask you specific questions. Of course, it is also something that cannot be broken down and told black and white, this is how it is. It also comes with experience and stuff. But if you have to tell somebody new who's starting off, who's meeting a situation where the services that they are offering is already being offered by somebody way experienced, a beginner, if not a step by step, what is a broad blueprint that you can give? For example, you said be in touch with them, keep wishing them, but what would at least three critical questions, even in those conversations, what are those three subtle questions that you need to put in to get that foot in the door entry?
I would like to answer that. Now we are getting into a conversation that is quite difficult because these are difficult conversations,
Right.
and your relationship with the client starts to blossom once there is an opportunity where you are in a position to discuss the uncomfortable things with each other.
Right.
Then only the relationship opens up.
Right.
So we were in a position to be so open that the client, whenever we used to ask the client, how are things, how are is your team meeting the KRS and all, so how is the training department doing, what more do you expect from the vendor, that now they are, since they are training your individuals now, what do you think that the extra thing would have been better if they would have delivered? These are the typical questions that it triggers the mind, and it also opens up various opportunities for you to understand where is that opportunity size and where you can cement the gap. So we found out that thing, we cemented the gap, and then typically we moved ahead. So if you ask me about three typical questions, the typical questions would be like, to understand if he is at all satisfied. It should be asked in a very, I am putting it in a very raw form,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that person or the salesperson or the trainer or whosoever is going should ask, how is how are the services going? First of all, is he satisfied or not?
Right.
What are the other things that he's aspiring for,
Right.
which would have helped him to mark it and give it more brownie points to that?
Right.
And is there any scope that if you can allow me to help you or assist you, we can work together and just see if you like me. If you do not like me, then it's okay, you can move on with your other partner with whom you are working. So somewhere when you introduce this part, when you are building a personal relationship with someone and you are saying that, why don't you give me an opportunity and try out, I won't let you down,
Right.
then that becomes an accountability in the other person's mind, that whenever he is saying he is sure, and since we have already developed a good relation, I might well give him a chance.
One more thing I would like to add to what Sujit
Right.
has said. Um, this is a very interesting thing that we have found out in the last 8 years. If I take the example of an organization who does not have anyone engaged for their L&D process versus an organization who already has
Right.
someone experienced, or whosoever is there who is taking care of the L&D, do they have a vendor, they might be deploying freelancers, whosoever. It's easier to get into the second category. Why? Because in the first category, you need to first convince them that training and development is needed. So there is a tool tire sales that has to get into them. But in the second category, they already know the importance of learning and development. They have a vendor, they just need to change the brand, or probably keep them there and test it out. So anybody who is starting off new, I would strongly recommend that visit those companies who are already into learning and development. Things would be far easier for you, because otherwise you need to explain the concept that training is needed, learning and development, why is it important. You have to start from very raw area, then they probably will agree to whatever you are saying and then give you a contract. But here in this case, and every organization who has got a L&D partner for a long time, there will be some cracks. So they are also in lookout for I mean, trying out someone new. It's just like the toothpaste or a soap that we use in the morning. I mean, whenever there is, it's not that I've been using an X brand of toothpaste and I would use that brand throughout my life. Whenever I see something new in the market, I might try out once. So people should definitely visit those organizations where there is already L&D activity going on. They have vendors. Probably it's easier for them. People do not visit there. I mean, newcomers generally prefer to visit those companies where who are relatively smaller organization, new companies. There is no training culture in there. There your work is doubly difficult because you first need to instill that culture wherein they would be open to the idea of, because that's still for them, learning and development is a cost, not an investment. But an organization where there is already a partner,
Right.
they know that it's an investment. I just need to figure out what different or what better you
Right.
could offer. So in fact, that is easier. People should definitely visit organizations where there is learning and development.
This was amazing, Anjan, the perspective that you gave, right? I think this is something that probably, I hope a lot of people who are listening to this, there is that, you know, switch on the light sort of a moment for them in their heads, because this makes so much sense, right? Because when
Right.
somebody already knows the value of something, all you need to do is
Everything,
just go and
everything.
replace. This is not only for learning and development, I feel this is a beautiful sales insight that you've like given us right here. It's like a value bomb. Is it easier to go and approach somebody who doesn't have somebody using, or is it easier to go and approach somebody who's already having? You just have to replace the competitor. Anjan, given that you've been in L&D, both of you, what are the typical reasons why organizations look for new vendors as far as their
That could
training
be
is
anything.
concerned?
I'll tell you. Say an L&D manager, he or she has his or her KRA. Now, the reason could be as trivial as they want a different trainer for different training programs. Say, I have my, if you look from their point of view, let's say I've got three topics. Let me take the example of one topic. Let's say leadership training, right? And I'm a big organization. I may be training 200 people on leadership in a year, and let's say they are divided into 10 batches of 20 each, right? Now an LRD manager might
Right.
think that so I have got 10 batches of leadership training to be done, so probably they would think that I won't repeat the same person more than two times or three times, right? There might not be anything to do with
Hmm.
that, might not have anything to do with the quality of training. The trainer who trains for the first two training
Right.
programs might be an excellent facilitator, bang on, but still they might want a second person in the next two programs, and so on. So as a freelancer, while for a freelancer this might be um, a little bit of a disadvantage, for if I know that I'm giving a good training program, I should get all the 10. But again, it creates a lot of opportunity in the market. So
Right.
I mean, probably I'm training in X
Right.
organization today, tomorrow the same thing is happening in some other organization, so I might have a requirement there. And that is the reason why I
Right.
call or we call the organizations who work in our domain as industry colleagues, not competitors. Because if there is an information flow amongst us, then it's a win-win situation for everybody. Say, for example, you are taking up a topic somewhere, I am taking
Right.
up a
Right.
topic somewhere, and if you and I are in touch, and we know that this is something that might happen in the organization, so I tell you, you go and approach this organization, I'll go and approach your organization. So that way it works.
Right.
And to add on to what Anjan has said regarding the KRAs, in a typical bureaucratic organization where there is a lot of hierarchy, I'm sure since you are in sales, you might appreciate the fact that during our appraisal process, there is always the KRAs that pops up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And based on
Yeah.
that KRAs, you are being given a rating of 1, 2, 3, outstanding, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we think the same goes for L&D processes also. the L&D head, whosoever you are interacting with, he or she might have a standard specific KRS in place. And if it is a process oriented organization, and if they really value the participants feedback, they tabulate the feedback and they share it with their higher organization.
Right.
Because you cannot control the outcome of the training, whether it is a good experience or a bad experience. The facilitator might be good,
Right.
as Anjan had said, but the outcome might be different,
Right.
because we are having a diversity of population wherein multicultural people are taking the training.
Right.
If they are giving a positive feedback, well and good, but if they are giving a negative feedback, the ultimate impact is being borne by the L&D head. So what happens is that there is always an opportunity for that L&D head to come up and say, this training has not been performed very well, so this vendor is, let us try out somebody
Right.
else.
Right.
So that creates more and more opportunity in the market.
Apart from this, the normal reason is
Got it.
obviously there.
I
If
think-
a training program really goes bad, so naturally they would go for someone else. That is there. They are all given. But
Yeah.
there are cases when trainers feel that I have given an excellent training, the delivery was good, everything was good. Why did they replace me? So this is it. They might look for someone else.
Right. Yeah. I think it's just, I mean, assuming that the training has gone amazingly well, one of the, I think, from what you both have told, the common reason is they just need variety. Because for a company, right, trainers are like part uh, it is not like a work experience for them. It is also a relaxation experience, recharge experience as well. And you are no less than a live movie that you're presenting. It has to be entertaining as well. And each trainer has their own style and their own activities, their own personalization. Probably they like to experience each one of them,
Bang
and
on.
that's probably why
Absolutely.
they also go for these changes. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I think so. In your domain, it doesn't matter if somebody is already tied up with somebody or not. Every trainer is going to have their turn to go and give a session in that particular company. Great. And so when you, let's say, you've given an amazing training session to a couple of big corporates, and then let's say this situation is happening to you. What is your typical reaction to it? And how do you navigate that whole process? And has there been a situation where you've given an awesome training, you were probably replaced, and then you waited,
See,
and
I'll
then
tell
you
you
got your turn
honestly.
back in that company?
Sorry, you want to go ahead?
To be
Uh, uh, very
no,
honestly
it's okay,
speaking,
please go ahead.
individual freelancers, they hardly get to know about this reality. Even we came to know when we started operating as an organization. Okay, so where we were not training, we were interacting with the L&D head.
Right.
They gave us this information. You had deployed this
Right.
particular trainer. Excellent, he was great. But I'll tell you a live
Right.
instance
Right.
where the leadership training was going on, and we had a very good gentleman who had an army background. He's an ex-colonel, very highly decorated colonel. He used to give leadership sessions. So after a couple of sessions, the
Right.
HR manager got back to us and said, while colonel's trainings are excellent, but mm, when I do another training program, I am getting the same army examples. So I want a variety out here. So it's not that they are bad. Now, when they're dealing with an
Right. Right.
with a freelancer, they won't divulge these informations. Why they divulge to us? Because they know that okay, I
Correct.
can be with this vendor, but I can get a different trainer. So that is how we came to know that this is the
Right.
variety. I mean, most of the corporates, they look for variety. Good, this trainer is good, but please give me someone else. We have already worked with him for say X number of training days. So that's it. So
Amazing.
yeah, you were saying.
Sujit, please, you wanted to share.
I was exactly going to say the same thing, and Anjan has already said.
Okay, got it. I was gonna come to this topic as to what is your transition between freelancers and then being as an organization. I think one of the changes was very evident here, And I'll tell you what, these are some mind-boggling insights. Seriously, these are like really going in depth, because people that I've spoken to, like who've got 30 years of experience in training, they all have an organization. It's
Right.
not that they don't have an organization, but they are a one-person organization. They are the ones who are trainers, and then they are the ones who keep going. And this is probably a reason where you also need to have a company. You can also train, but then allow somebody also, at least that you are being
Very true.
informed of everything, and you'll still get a chance. um, Sujit and Anjan, uh, this is the last 45 minutes, 50 minutes has been nothing short of amazing. I want to now go back to originally the topics that I had in mind, talking about Infidia. So you started in 2014. um, as a company, how has the growth journey been from 2014 to 2022? You must have probably started off as just a two people company. Today, do you have a team? Of course, I know that you have a lot of freelancers connected to you, and then you deploy them and all those things. But how is what is the structure of a typical training company like yours? How does it work?
We have a very flat structure. We are a 4-member team,
Okay.
apart from Anjan and me.
Okay.
So we have a flat structure in the sense there is no requirement of creating a hierarchy in the first place.
Okay.
Because being a small team, everybody knows what they're up to.
Right.
So we are a small team, and obviously, as we have said, since we are in the information age and we are in the gig economy, few of the contracts, few of the things, few of some works are already outsourced to other people also. So we work with a combination of our own teams, and there are people those who make sales calls, there are people who do telecalling, there are people who do a bit of collection calls as well, since we know collection is really tough, because I was myself into collections and we have lost money also.
Okay.
So this is how it is. I mean, we have people those who are working in our team, and we have freelancers and contractual employees who work with us whenever we need them.
Okay. Got it. Starting in 2014, up until, okay, let's talk until the pandemic struck. We'll come to the pandemic period, probably after we address this. From 2014 to 2019 or early 2020, what's your growth been like? Has it been like, you've got this fixed amount of gigs that you do, the revenue is like kind of flat, or, has it been growing, and is it still growing?
Talking about pre-pandemic era, definitely growth was there, but it was very calculated, since there is a limitation to human involvement. A
Right.
person who is doing certain number of calls in a day cannot replace the
Yes.
algorithm done by a machine, the AI.
Right.
So that is how it is. I mean, subsequent growth we have seen over the years, but the growth post pandemic has been huge, has
Wow.
been good.
Okay. Interesting. What would you attribute that to? Why do you think the growth after the pandemic? Because what I've been hearing is that during the pandemic, obviously there were a lot of cost cutting, jobs were lost, and training is not, learning and development and the training thing in a company is not always the core thing, right? It is slightly treated with a little bit lesser importance than all the other departments. Despite that, what would you attribute your growth during the pandemic and post pandemic?
Right. In a typical organization, if you leaving aside L&D, any typical organization, if you are starting out
Right.
building a company, there are 4 steps that needs to be followed.
Right.
One is you have to fail, you have to build, you have to pivot, and then you have to scale. So this was the process which we followed in our company, because we failed miserably. We failed very, very hard.
Okay.
So there were times like when we thought we have to go back. But that is the area which teaches you a lot.
Right.
Because training as such, L&D, learning and development industry, is a difficult market to get into. Because
Right.
if you talk about corporate training is a really unstructured market,
Yes.
wherein pricing plays a huge role.
Okay.
because everybody and anybody who comes, who thinks that I want to be a trainer, he is already a trainer in the mind. Because since it's an unstructured market, anybody can quote any amount that he likes. So that creates further competition.
Mm.
Because whenever a company is approaching a vendor or a freelancer for a training, that person is also scouting the market for. They can compromise on the quality, but they will not compromise on the cost. Probably that person already has an amount of, say, for a single day training, he has a budget of. He wants to hire a trainer at a budget of, for a 1 day training, they want to spend an amount of 25,000. Okay, but upon searching, they find that there is already a trainer who can do the same training at 15,000 for a single day.
Right.
So what happens is that they save on the cost.
Right.
So I have digressed from the topic, but let me come back to the original thing. So since it was a difficult market, we thought of connecting every individual people in the retail market.
Okay.
So that is how our journey into the retail market started.
Right.
We wanted to connect with all individuals. So that was possible only through, as Anjan had said, we started off by conducting public workshops and management development workshops in 3 cities. We conduct bi-monthly workshops wherein people nominate themselves, they come to the workshop, they attend the workshop, if they like it, they go present it to their management, and from there the management development workshops act as a sales funnel for us. People go back to their company, they report that the training was really great,
Right.
and then the cycle starts, the B2B cycle starts, because these typical management development workshops are it's a mix of B2B and B2C clients. There are hardly 20% of clients would be B2C, like those who are serious learners. Say, for example, I think that I have to develop my skill, I will go to the training and attend. But there are companies we have seen that they will first test the market in order to find out whether this training is really good or not. So they will select 5 people, 6 people out of their company, and they will send it to us. Once we get a full house, say for example, we get 40 attendees. Out of that, there are 7 companies who have nominated few people and they have sent it to the workshop.
Right.
So the likelihood, the likelihood is very high out of the 7 companies that 2 of the companies come back to us for conducting a training in their own premises.
Right.
So this is how we scaled.
Got it.
Before the pandemic, and things were a bit different after the pandemic. That added on to our scalability metrics.
Got it, Sujit. Sujit, so you said, there was a point, I'm assuming it's definitely before pre-pandemic, you said you failed miserably. And then, there were moments you thought, you needed to probably go back and stuff like that. What did you learn from those failures? And when you said you were failing miserably, what do you exactly mean? You were not able to get even one client for months together? Is that what you mean when you say you were failing miserably?
It was basically, I will reframe my answer. It was basically during the pandemic. It was not before the pandemic, because what happened all of a sudden in 2020, you would appreciate that markets closed down.
Yeah.
Companies started to work from home.
Yeah.
And the margins that we were getting from the trainings, that
I'll continue from there. Probably his yeah.
Sure, Anjan. Yeah, probably.
The
Yeah,
thing
he'll be
is,
back
what
once his network is
happened
back.
during the pandemic, just when the pandemic hit us, was everything came to a standstill. So
Sorry, Anjan, I'm gonna just clarify a point here. So before the pandemic, things were fine.
we
You
were
were hitting
happy,
your
but
minimum numbers. You
I
were
mean,
happy.
certain months there were lack of consistency. Um, Probably we were getting good contracts in, say, towards the year
Right.
end, and then as the year started, there would be a couple of months where it was not a dry month altogether, but we did not get we could not recover our costs. So that is how we put it. And then
Right.
during the pandemic,
Right.
what happened is that, as I told you earlier, um, apart from this, we shifted into direct retail online. Now, retail online, as in, we prepared some modules, pre-recorded video modules. We got in touch with a couple of our trainers who
Right.
were, in fact, they were also sitting idle. So we got some modules from them as well. We put
Right.
it on our portal. We created a portal, put it on our portal, and then we
Right.
use digital marketing and threw it across the country. Now that gave
Right.
us a true scalability, you know.
Hmm.
And when now what happens is that I'll tell you what,
Right.
as Sujit was talking about this workshop. Now when pandemic got over, it was a year or so. Then why we got better growth rate thereafter is that now if you see, we have got three pillars. Pillar one is the corporate training that we were already doing. Pillar two is the workshops that we conduct, and pillar three is
Right.
this online modules that we have. Now whenever we approach a corporate now, we start off with, as you were saying, that what to say in the first sales call. When a sales call happens, we tell them that we have a workshop going on. You can send your nominations for this workshop. If you want us to train your employees, we are there. If you want to test the market, I mean, rather, if you want to test our quality, send them to a workshop that we are anyways conducting. Um, if that is not the case, you don't have nominations to be sent across to the workshop, or on that particular day of workshop your employees are busy, then why not get into our online portal and check out courses. So now this one pillar is supporting the other, or
Right.
probably what is happening is that when someone, a retail client of ours, probably he or she is working somewhere, he goes through a program, he likes it, he or she gets in touch with us, probably books us for their corporate. So that is why
Right.
having three different entry points for a client to get into the system, so one compensates the other, or rather one supports the other, and that is how we got a better growth rate post pandemic.
Got it, Anjan. This is like really again very interesting and very against not against kind of very different from what others say, because today one of the toughest things in the edtech space is making a business out of self-paced courses. As such, you said three pillars. One pillar was the workshops that you were running, where the companies would nominate people and then send it, and then they would test hard the training, and through that you would get a on-premise training gig with the companies, where you'd go into their campus and do it. And then the third one is where you created your content, and this is where I think it happened during the pandemic. Am I correct? This is when you started creating content. Now, let's just talk about creating content and those self-paced courses and that aspect, right? Now, creating content is a capital heavy, intensive task, because, you need to, get people from whom you need to get the IP. It depends on the relationship you have with them, whether you're entering into a partnership mode or not. But then you still have to produce the content, recording and all those things. So what was your content creation process? Did you outsource it? Did you hire
Yeah,
people, or did you do it
there are
yourselves,
a
like
couple of
using a
courses
screen
in our
sharing
platform
software?
which we ourselves developed, because anyways in pandemic we were not doing anything. We were at our respective home doing nothing. So we started preparing content, and then we started procuring
Right.
content from our trainers, because they were already in the training domain. Some had technical expertise. We told them how to create this content, or what would be the content. Probably we gave them the entire structure, that this would be the course structure. Some had their own products, while in some cases we told them that this would be the structure, we want these topics, this would be the video duration, this would be the layout, and this is the hardware that you would require.
Right.
You prepare content, and we will pay you upfront and take it up from here. So that is how we got content from external trainers, and these people, we already knew them because they were working with us for the last so many years pre-pandemic. So for them also, with the training,
Right.
learning and development, physical learning and development getting suspended for some time, they also found a way of engagement, wherein someone in the market is, giving them some kind of employment, wherein we are getting constant content from them. So that is how we created this portal so fast during this pandemic.
That's great. So you're saying that you didn't engage in a revenue sharing
Yeah.
model or
I'll tell
something.
you.
You paid upfront to the trainers who created these
There
things,
there are a
and
couple
then
of
you had
courses
to.
where which are on our portal on a revenue sharing basis. There are some courses which we have purchased upfront, and then there are some content which are directly prepared by us. So it's a
Right.
combination of everything.
So, Anjan, was it a business decision that did it? You thought paying upfront. Did you have a reason behind that decision, or was it the trainer's choice that they
Actually,
wanted to do a
we
revenue
wanted
sharing,
to test out
or they wanted to be
different
paid
modes.
upfront?
Whatever is profitable for us as well as the training partner. If you say there, it was a conscious
Right.
decision, but why revenue and why upfront? We wanted an answer for that. That is the reason we selected some on revenue and some we got upfront. And those there were facilitators who said that they would
Got
be
it.
interested to go on a revenue sharing model, and there were facilitators who said that we would prefer an upfront payment,
Right.
and we give you the entire this thing. I mean, we won't have any claim on the
Got it.
product. So that is how we went.
Got it, Anjan. And
So
yeah, please, please.
yeah, I'm really sorry because there was a power
No
failure,
problem,
so I
Sujit.
had
Welcome
to
back. Yeah,
disconnect.
Anjan
So
took over from where you left, and
okay, great.
we covered about how you pivoted since the pandemic started and how things were going until the pandemic hit, and then Anjan was talking about the three pillars that you then later got once the pandemic started. Where you had your workshops, where companies would nominate people to attend your workshops to understand how the workshops work, and then you'd probably go and train them in their campus, and then the model of creating courses, and then scaling up by digital marketing. And I was specifically trying to understand how this whole self-paced courses work. And Anjan was talking about the three models in which you did that. Some of the courses you created yourselves because you were at home during the pandemic, and some of the courses were brought up front from other trainers,
Yes.
and then some were on a revenue sharing basis. And I was talking about why the difference between two things. And now my next question is, which model has proved to be more profitable for
Still we are
Insider?
looking for that
Is it the
answer,
revenue sharing
because
or is it paying
there are
upfront?
courses which are on revenue sharing where we have made money. There are certain
Okay.
courses on revenue sharing where we are incurring losses, and the same with it depends on the acceptance of.
But
but
how would
but
you incur a
you need
loss
to
in a
advertise
revenue
for the
sharing model?
product,
Because you're not
because
paid upfront, so you
you
also share the
do digital
losses.
marketing on that product. Otherwise, I mean,
That's where
just
you
having the
okay.
course on the portal will not generate sales. So
Right,
you
right,
put money in that, and then if it does not
right.
generate return, so that way you get sales.
Got it.
And since to add on to what Anjan has said, and we are really testing it out also with various domains, because you know what, since this is an unstructured market and you can't say for surety what would be the acceptability factor in the market for course X or a course Y,
Right,
because if you draw a trajectory, different courses have different demands in different points of time, so it gets really difficult.
right.
So in order to do that, we keep on experimenting a lot with that in order to find out the final thing, how does it contribute to our bottom line.
Got it, Sujit. And post pandemic specifically, let's consider the time from 2020 to up until now. Of course, before pandemic, I'm making an assumption that all of your revenue came from in-house, I mean, on-campus training that you did to all the corporates. You did not have any self-paced courses model, nor did you have a model where you companies would nominate people to come and attend your workshops. All those things came out of the pandemic. Now, how's the revenue split been? I mean, are you even making any profitable revenue
Primarily
from
the
the
revenue comes
self-paced
from the
courses
self-paced
vertical of yours?
courses. Because see, now the model is very balanced. Why
Wow. Okay.
because maybe the B2B contracts, maybe you'll have 2 to 3 contracts or engagements in a month. Okay. Now, when you have more engagements, say 4,
Right.
5, 6 engagements, then you get a sizable revenue from there. But self-paced learning module, since that is driven by the mass retail market, where you get sales every day. Maybe the quantum may be low, but since you are getting revenue generated every day, so when you look at the end of the month, it's a sizable figure. So that is why on most of the months, the primary
Right.
revenue is coming from the self-paced learning courses. uh, Corporate training, the B2B model, wherein the direct training happens for the corporate, there they are closely behind, or there are months when they take over. But if you look at the consistency happens here, because it's a daily sales product. You're selling something or the other every day. You're generating some money. And as far as the workshops are concerned,
Right.
yes, they give us some profit, but we don't look at the profitability from workshop, because they act as a funnel product, wherein corporates send in their nominations, they check their product. So that is it. Now,
Right. Right.
what works for us
Right.
now is that with this trinity, there are three pillars. Now when you approach a corporate, ideally what happens now is that we recruit a lot of interns who are fresh out of, maybe they're in the final year, some are doing summer internships in their MBA colleges. Now they approach different corporates, and they have something tangible to show. When you go to an HR manager, previously when they used to go, or rather when we used to do our own sales call, there we only used to talk about what is your learning and development budget, how you do. That was important, that was needed. But now things are far easier, because we first go, the
Right.
reason for the call, if we take an appointment, we say that on x date we have a workshop in your city, and we would like to meet the learning and development manager to get nominations. Just check out what we have. So it's easy to get an appointment when you have a purpose. Now they're also pitching for the self-paced
Right.
learning courses, with an offer that if you wish, we can say give you X IDs at a discount or whatever. And some corporates do prefer that I'll procure some IDs for my employees who would go through that. So the cross sales happens there as well. And when they see that a lot of activity is going on in the
Right.
organization, some kind of trust builds up. Then it's easier for us to crack the training contracts as
Right.
well. So that is the reason why post pandemic,
Right.
with the workshops running, with the self-paced learning portal, this cumulatively have forced the B2B contracts to come more often. So that has helped the B2B thing to flourish.
And
Yeah.
what is it that
So
you talk about fresh MBA
see,
interns?
primarily to do these sales call, currently what we do is that we get interns from colleges, because most of the MBA colleges on the final
Right.
semester, they have a project wherein you need to do an internship. So we get interns from the marketing stream,
Right.
probably category B, C, D colleges, who are there
Got it.
for 2 months, and they would go into different corporates, because then the advantages you have is, when you take an intern, even if you pay a good internship stipend, then also they're cheaper than getting a salaried employee, right? Number one. Number two, these people are English speaking
Yes. Yeah.
candidates who could approach HR managers, right? So they are here for 2 months. We train
Right.
them. They do the sales call. Not the sales call. They take appointments. They meet we train them what to say, what not to say. And the HR also sees that since an intern is coming, the intention to grill is also not there. So they probably they do a basic round of talking, and
Yeah.
then for to take the conversation further, then we are always there. So that way they are there in the market. They do the initial pitching in the market.
Right. 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 Got it, Anjan. Um so I want to ask you another question. I want to address this topic because one of the things that I found very interesting, after talking to you, is that whatever that you've spoken so far from a training perspective has been contradictory to a lot of things that I've spoken to before. That's probably because, I'm talking to somebody here, Sujit and Anjan, who run an organization, as opposed to somebody, who's been a solopreneur and running an organization. um, Most of those people that I've spoken to find it very difficult to push the self-paced courses. The course completion rates are down, nothing. And that is one of the reasons, for, I mean, that's not one of the reasons, but that's an organic viewpoint, which they say that, when the course completion rates aren't there, eventually the people are looking for live workshops and live engagements, and this is what they say. But then here, when I'm talking to you, you're telling that the self-paced courses are helping you with bringing in new revenue as well. At the same
Very
time, it's
true.
also playing a role in getting you more B2B contracts as well. To all the people who believe otherwise, what do you think are the mistakes that they are making, guys, Sujit or Anjan? If you can throw some light here.
Yeah, sure. I would love to answer that. So the thing is that the primal sales thing has to come in. If the person is a freelancer or a trainer or a teacher, whosoever it is,
Right.
they need to stick on with things, because the reason behind getting our sales is that we have a sales angle to it.
Right.
Say for example, we are approaching a customer through our automated systems. Say for example, we launch a course X today.
Yeah.
With our all automated channels and human involvement, we sending the communication to the prospect that we have launched this course. Why don't you try this course?
Right.
At that point of time, the customer might think that whether this is the right course for me or not. And the second question that pops up in his mind is that, will I be better off if I buy this course? Because there are many more courses in the market out there.
Right.
So let me, first of all, this is a typical mindset of a learner who comes to, buy courses from you,
Right.
from anywhere.
Right.
Because typically in India is a very cost sensitive market.
Yes.
They will always try to find the same thing with a lesser budget. So in terms of value offering, it has to be very, very high.
Right.
So what happens is that in this particular case, when he gets a mail from us, typical customer, he gets a mail from us and he doesn't sign into course X, we have the entire database with us. Whosoever has signed for the last 10 days, in the last 15 days, in the last 1 month, we try to, from the analytics perspective, we try to find out how many times he has logged into the system and he has checked the particular course. Then we try to kind of, this is a very manual method. I won't say that there is a scientific approach to it, but hit and trial works out sometimes. We find out what is the learning capability and what is the makeup of that individual.
Right.
So what happens is that probably we come to a conclusion, this might not have interested him.
Right.
So the next time when we launch a course, in between the first selling and the second selling, there is a huge gap in between, wherein we try to hit on to the customer to find out what are his good areas that he's trying to explore.
Right.
So in an area, by doing that, what we find out is that customer is interested in learning, that probably the course X or Y is not suiting him.
Right.
So next time when we launch a course Z and we send it to him, then we see that he's already our customer.
Right.
And that works in our favor because we have a variety of courses.
Right.
If somebody is not signing up with Excel, it is wrong to conclude that he might not like other courses also. If I am not signing on to Python, it's incorrect way of saying that he will not like my other course, which is into behavioral management or time management. So once
Right.
you hit the customer with different approaches, that customer has to buy. So we have seen in typical digital landscape, if you are hitting the customer 7 times, then there is a sale. So it's working out like
if
that.
you tell me, if I have to give any suggestion to any freelancer who would like to get into the domain of self-paced learning course creation, I would say that you need to keep on preparing courses and probably have a system where you have at least 5 to 6 courses there in your portal. We as consumers, whenever, even if you're going to buy a medicine, let's say there are two medicine shops in the market. One only sells Calpol or a paracetamol, right?
Right.
And there is a different a second shop which has all varieties
Right.
of medicine. Now, even if you need a paracetamol, you would flock to that shop
Right.
which is full of stock, which has different medicines to offer, because natural trust comes there. So that is what happens is
Right.
primarily what happens is when a freelancer creates a self-paced learning course, he or she thinks that I need to be successful in this course only. Probably this course would be successful if you have 5 more courses there in your portal. You know, when a consumer comes in, he or she sees that okay, there is a variety. The same,
Mm.
concept of variety comes in. Like I said, the case of a HR, learning and development manager. A consumer also would trust that portal where they see that okay, I have got 3 courses there. I will buy from here. So they need to keep on adding courses maybe. And another thing which is very important, you need to sell those courses. Just having the courses in the portal won't. Whichever way, the best would be if somebody knows digital marketing and knows social media marketing. That would be the best thing to do, because there you have the automated systems in place. If not,
Right.
get someone who can do the digital marketing for you. If not, approach your clients, physical clients, wherein they can take these courses in bulk.
Right.
Whichever way, you have to try and sell those courses and have at least some 5 to 6 courses with you, so that anybody who comes in sees a variety, checks out one of them and picks them, instead of just having one self-paced learning course and thinking that would sell. One course will not sell, might not sell.
Mm. Got it, Anjan. Anjan,
Talking,
yeah. Please.
I just want to add
Sure,
on to
sure.
one thing. Talking about scalability and variety, what we are discussing right now, we have seen cases. It has happened with us. These are real life case studies
Right.
where we have seen that that particular customer, he is not interested for the past 2 years.
Right.
Even after launching 10, 12 courses and hitting on the market several times, hitting to the customer several times, he does not buy at all. But one fine day, we see that he has already purchased
Absolutely.
10 courses in a single go.
Wow.
It has happened with us.
Okay. Got it.
So this is how things work.
Got it.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you a question with an example, right? Now, let's say there is a trainer who's into behavioral training. I don't know much about the topics that go on into corporate training. Let's say behavioral training. You are telling, let's say whatever he knows, he's created a course. Now, you're telling psychologically for the customers, it helps to see multiple courses. Now, are you telling that this trainer should create variations of behavioral training and give it different titles and, have 6-7 courses? Is that what you're trying to hint at? Or,
See, to answer that,
yeah, please. Yeah.
Sorry, please.
Or
Please,
or
go ahead.
should he, equip himself with other topics and then create totally different courses? That's my doubt.
It to be very frank and upfront, it really depends, because what is the outlook that you have? What do you want your customers? What is the image you are trying to create to a customer?
Right.
Because there can be a generalist approach and there can be a specificity. It's up to you to create that kind of image.
Right.
Whether you want to go for a general kind of setup wherein you are creating many courses and trying to sell that customer, or you are trying to pose yourself as a leader, as a domain expert. Now, it works both ways. If you are a domain expert, if you want to establish your solid ground in one particular domain, then you need to find out various avenues in order to latch on to the customer. You need to send value bombs. Suppose if I am a leadership trainer, I need to be with the prospect every now and then and say that, to establish the fact that there cannot be a different leadership trainer who can be better than me, but in a very subtle way.
Right.
The takeaways has to be very good from the customer's perspective. And if you're a generalist, then you have many options that you can try pitching into the customer. And ultimately, it's all about, it's all about the ends. Once a prospect is converted to a prospect is converted to a customer, then it becomes really easy. Because to get a customer is very difficult. But once you are signed up as a customer, then you can take the extra effort and make him a second sale.
See,
it becomes
again,
easier.
to add to what Sujit has said and your question. Say, if I'm talking about a plain vanilla soft skills expert who takes generally conducts soft skills training, even that person
Right.
can create modules on communication skills, time management,
Right.
then probably interview skills. Yeah. So there are a number of modules or courses that, because uh, even when they are going to corporates to train, they don't train a single topic. They also take care of different topics. So they can create
Right.
different courses. And second thing, it's very important
Right.
to understand or decide that which segment of the market I am trying to serve. Am I looking at serving the premium segment with a high cost? Am I looking to serve the base segment, or somewhere in between? So based on that, the entire strategy for that person would depend.
Got it. Got it, Anjan. Anjan, earlier you said that, when we were talking about revenue sharing, you
Right,
said
right.
you also undergo losses because, you need to spend money to advertise as well. Now, let us say, let's combine both revenue sharing or, the courses that you paid upfront to the trainers, and then, the courses you created yourself. First of all, help me if I'm, just please correct me if I'm wrong, even if this question is valid. If you put, just to understand the return on investment, if you put 100 rupees on digital marketing, because today when I open my social media, right, I see a lot of 99 rupees webinars, and a lot of such things that are happening. A lot of people are training on different things. But when it comes to self-paced courses, if I put 100 rupees on digital marketing, what is the normal industry return on investment? Do
So
they
there's a
get, do
thumb
they
rule
even break even 100
as far
rupees, or
as
do they
digital
make
marketing
400
is
rupees?
concerned.
What is it like?
If you're trying to sell a physical product through digital marketing, your ideal
Right.
return should be three times. If you're putting in 100 rupees, you should be getting back 300 rupees, because there's cost of
Okay.
the product and all are there. I'm talking about purely advertisement
300
perspective.
rupees.
For services, courses like this, the thumb rule is two. A return of two. If you are getting a return of two, then you are doing good. I mean, anything above two, if you are getting, then it's good. If till 1.5 is manageable, because here the cost of production is low. So you are not, unless and until it is a revenue sharing product, you are not paying
Yeah.
additional amount for additional units. If it is, if you have purchased the course upfront, or you have prepared it yourself. For a product sale, it is different, because for every
Right.
unit
Right.
there is a cost. The cost of the product is there. But for services, if you are getting two return, you are doing things okay. But if you are falling below 1.5, then you need to look at the strategy. So that is it. So ideally, one should get a return of two.
Got it. And as far as the
At the
self-paced
moment,
courses are concerned,
at the
your
moment,
market
India,
is
we
just
plan
India,
to
or you're going
move out to
global?
five English speaking countries. That is UK, Canada, Australia, US. Four rather.
Okay.
Um, so that is in a planning stage.
Okay.
But currently, see, India has a huge population. I mean, if you can cater to them, then it will
Right.
take some time when you exhaust the entire population. So still uh, miles to go in India itself. So you'll just spend 2 years in this country. I mean, as far as online courses is concerned.
Okay. Got it. And interestingly,
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to another person, who was building a tech product, where he was teaching how to code. And then, he said he failed in India because he missed out on the
Mm-hmm.
vernacular. In India,
Mm-hmm.
when you want to really penetrate, English dies down after a point in time, right? English is
Mm-hmm.
only a certain population, and then you need to like really communicate to them in their
See,
languages. How do you look at this? I mean, has it even
yeah,
occurred to you?
one
Have you
of the
started thinking
courses,
about it? Because I'm assuming all your
uh,
courses are in English
all
as
of
of
them
now.
are in English. One is there, which is in Hindi. Uh, it's a difficult proposition,
Right.
wherein it's always good to get into the vernacular domain. But if I look at it from an operational perspective, let's say if I wish to create a course in Tamil, right? Now that would have tremendous acceptability
Right.
in the uh, within the Tamil people or within the state of Tamil Nadu. But what is the total population size who are
Correct.
into online learning and who do not know English? They only would get into this vernacular course. Vernacular course are really great.
Correct.
We have thought of getting into that area, but why we haven't yet explored that part is when I talk about English, I at least get a population which is English speaking, and I get them across the country. I can pitch someone with this product in Jammu and Kashmir, and we literally have customers from Andaman and Nicobar Islands as well. But when it comes to vernacular, yes. But again, the
Right.
size, when you are right in saying that there is only a cross section of people who speak English. There is a large population who does not speak English. Similarly, if you are other than Hindi, if you are getting into regional languages, again, probably in that particular state
Right.
there would be huge population who speak in this language. But again, if I come out of that state, I would not be able to sell the product. So there is always a dilemma, which population size is
Right.
greater in number wherein you can push your product.
Got it. Guys,
To add on to,
I'm so sorry. Before I
I okay,
proceed,
yeah.
just I've told you because I had scheduled this for 2 hours. How are you guys placed? Have you guys planned? Do you have some more time? I would love to continue. This has been like one of the most amazing
Yeah. 30 minutes is
shows
fine.
that I've
Fine,
had.
fine. With
If you are
30 minutes
fine, we
is
can proceed for another 30 minutes. Otherwise, we can come back for a part two. Sujit, is that okay with you?
We can. That's okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
That's okay.
please proceed.
We can wrap it up probably by
4:30 till
4:25
4:30 we
or
can
4:30 is
stay.
fine because we have a meeting again at 5 o'clock.
Absolutely, Sujit. Yeah,
So
thank you so
4:30
much.
sounds good.
Thank you very much. Yeah, please proceed, Sujit.
Yeah, I was to add on to what Anjan is saying. There is no specific ground rule because whenever you are approaching a market, you have to take into consideration two important criteria.
Right.
One is what is the total addressable market and what is the total serviceable addressable market.
Right.
These two factors will actually help you in order to find out a path and will decide like where to go and where to stop. That's it.
Got it. My, you know, not that to be very frank, I didn't have this many questions as far as the self-paced courses was concerned, but then after conversing with you, I'm just getting a lot of things as a natural progression. Now when we were talking about the Indian market, Anjan, you specifically told about three segments, right? You need to figure out whether you're addressing the premium segment or the base segment or somewhere in the middle. Again, when you said India has a huge population, I'm sure the population gets divided into these three.
We are at a
Which
sub-premium
is the
segment
segment you've
where
chosen? Where do you operate?
the cost of our courses, retail courses, start from 650 rupees and goes up to around 2000 rupees based on whatever you're. Yeah. We start from here, and our highest
That's the
range
sweet
would be around
spot.
2200, something like that.
Got it. When you first started off self-paced courses,
So
right?
we
How many
started
courses
off
did you
obviously
have?
with one
And how many
course,
courses do you have
and
now?
currently we have about 28, I think 28, 29 courses are there. About 30.
This is a question, I'm going to ask because you said at one point, it's good to have 5 to 6 courses. And then, so I'm assuming
Yeah,
you
that's true.
probably saw a
That's very
spike in
true.
sales when you
But
increased the number
it
of
was
courses in your platform.
easier for us to start with one course because that was in the middle of pandemic. So we had one course, even that got us good revenue.
Right.
But again, at that point in time, people were all at their home. They were open
Okay.
to learning, and now things have opened up. Now if you're having one course and you're trying to sell it, might be a bit difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but might be difficult. Might be. Because now we cannot say that, because now we are having a number of courses.
Got it.
So that's it. That point in time, during the we launched our first course on probably 15th
Right.
of July 2020. So that time one course was sufficient. Then slowly we started adding
Right.
courses. And definitely, the more course you have, the more trust you have. Mm, People get into your portal, they see the variety, they pick up something that they might like. So you give more option to your customers.
Got it, Anjan. The reason I'm, stressing on this question is this, right? It's a little contradictory, or, it's a little uh, counterintuitive, because people usually test with one course, two course, and then, they feel that, what, it's not working, I'm going to,
Don't
move away or
stop.
stuff like that. I think this
Mm,
is where your insight that, hey, don't even jump into conclusions till you at least go and reach 10 courses, maybe. Only then you might have to
Yeah.
make a decision whether to proceed or not. So if you're a self-paced course creator who's looking to start business in this domain, I think you need to at least create 10 courses and then come to any conclusion. Am I
yes,
correct when I'm
yes.
saying this?
See,
I
I
mean,
would
I need
say
not be
that
100% correct, but close
uh,
to, not
for
a bad
for
advice to
a
give people, right?
freelance trainer, currently see the training market is open. You're anyways training. So but I'm sure nobody would be deployed for all the 30 days. So when you have free time with you, you keep on preparing courses. What's the harm? Like, you keep on adding courses. You find out a topic, you do some research on it, and
Right,
just keep on
right,
preparing courses.
right,
And even you won't realize when you have already created probably 15 or 20 courses. Because if you every day you try take out some time, let's say in a particular month, as a trainer, even the best of the trainers have how many, 15, 16 days of training days, I mean training engagements. You still have 15 days. So if you spend even a month on a course, in
right.
a year you create at least 6 courses. So if you go that way, because um, the first course that a trainer creates, that might be a super hit, and the 10th course might be a flop. So there is no hard and fast rule which one the market would take. So you have to keep on. It happens everywhere, even with
Right,
big production houses. You see people making films.
right.
I mean, films with Amitabh Bachchan, Amir Khan, they also fail. So why do they
Yeah,
happen? But that does not mean that they stop producing movies. So one movie
right,
might fail, the next one might be a super hit, that it covers all the costs that you have
right.
incurred in whatever course you have, I mean, movie you have made. The same thing happens here as well. So when you're throwing to the market, you should. Yeah, that is what I was saying. Yeah, please.
If you typically, yeah, sorry, please continue. So, if you typically look at the corporate landscape, it applies, the same rule applies everywhere. I mean, if you take an example of a pharmaceutical company,
Right.
every pharmaceutical company is identical to its competitor
Correct.
because they have the same range of products, only the brand name is different.
Right.
They have the same range of products as the other company has.
Right.
But if they're having 10 products, they keep on launching that product.
Right.
They keep on doing the product launch. And all of a sudden, that hero product comes into the surface.
Right.
So it's very important to keep on creating courses
Right.
or products,
Right.
because you have to see, you have to throw the courses in the market and to see what comes back.
Right. Right.
And the one product that performs well, that is your hero product.
That's
So
going to
it
bring
takes
in more
considerable amount of time and effort.
customers and stuff.
Yes.
Got it. And, my next question was this. So, when we talk about digital marketing, we've got so much of social media platforms, including platforms like, third-party marketplaces like Udemy, for example. Do you also have your presence there, or are you strictly off that and you're just using your own platform?
We are using our own platform.
Udemy is not something that you go into and sell from there.
No.
Got it. And when it comes to social media platforms, say Instagram, Facebook, Google Ads, what are the platforms that you use? Are you there on all the platforms for your advertising? Which has turned out to be the best for you?
Primarily, Facebook is the most predominant in our social marketing landscape, and Instagram to somewhat extent, yes,
Okay.
but we haven't tried out LinkedIn since the reachability is low, what we feel. But
From Instagram, is
we
it?
need to do some homework. Yeah, the we need to do a bit of homework with LinkedIn also, and Google Ads. Yes, of course, we run Google Ads also.
Google Ads is also something that you run. Okay. Google Ads
Yes,
is
yes.
slightly expensive than Facebook. Am I correct?
Yes, to some extent. But these channels work out with their own timelines. Sometimes the Facebook seems to be expensive, and sometimes Google Ads seems to be expensive. It's up to you. Like, you have to really pull up your socks, and you need to find out your cost of acquisition to keep a to truncate the cost. Whenever your costs are rising, you need to keep a check.
And this whole digital marketing, have you outsourced it, or do you do it yourself in house?
We have a team in place who takes care of the entire thing. Of course, with our supervision, we are also hands down with that. We have specific knowledge which we impart to our team members, and they are also very, knowledgeable about this. It works both ways, in fact, to be honest.
You've outsourced, but you are also important stakeholders in the decision
Yes,
making
yes,
processes.
yes, yes,
Got it.
yes.
And when it comes to self-paced courses, right? When I see some of the courses that come on my feed, it says, 7-day no questions asked, refund policy, and all those things. How does it work? Like, what is the percentage? Do you have a policy like that? You have a no questions asked 100% refund thing with certain conditions?
To be honest, we do not have a refund policy, and surprisingly, out of the total portfolio base that we have, there was only one customer who has asked for a refund. We haven't got a single case who has asked for a refund. That was just that would amount to some 0.00001%, maybe. But we do not have a refund policy.
Got it. And as far as your course creation is concerned, the production is concerned, what is the format that you're most comfortable with? You need to find a balance between giving quality video visuals. At the same time, you should also not be spending. There's only so much that you can spend for a certain course, right? Uh, and when it comes to different methods of courses, say for example, there is a screen sharing way of recording courses, or there is a talking head way of making a course, or there is somebody in front of the board and then they're writing and they're teaching. Do these things make a difference? And what is the format that sells the most, and what is it,
Yeah, it
which format is
all
also
depends
most
on the
optimum from a
topic
creation point of view,
which you are picking up.
from your
Uh,
experience?
Say, for example, if it is a behavioral topic, in that case, probably the
Okay.
talking format works. But if you are getting into soft technical domains, like if you're teaching Python or probably an Excel, PowerPoint, then screen sharing is the best part. Uh, the bottom line is that the content has to be
Right.
great. I mean, content means the areas that you are covering. I mean, the customer, before buying the
Right.
product, has to feel that the money that I'm paying, I'm getting more than what I'm
Right.
paying. That should be the base motto. Now, once that happens, so see, we
Right.
have few courses which are on a screen recording mode. There are few where the trainer is speaking. I mean, you see the face of the trainer that is communicating with you. But the bottom line is, uh, if the content is great, people will keep on coming back to you. You know, so we have more than 40%
Right.
cross sell rates. So I mean, whenever someone buys a product, the second product happens and the third product happens. There are that rate is quite high. We again plan to pull it up. So that happens because the content that we are giving is great. It matters. I mean, there has to be a basic quality which has to be maintained. But if I'm talking, since many freelancers would be hearing this out, many times freelancers miss out or lose out because they think that they need an excellent studio quality material to be prepared, then only, and then they they are stuck there only. So it's very
Right.
important that if
Right.
your content is good, you need a basic microphone. If you're sharing your screen, then great. There are many video editing softwares. If you're showing your face, just a basic green screen, even background nowadays, you don't need a green screen. Even the background could be edited. So very basic things. I mean, the entire, probably the
Right.
infrastructure should not cost more than 5 or 6 thousand rupees, including microphone and everything I'm telling about. We try to create courses with that kind of a hardware cost. Uh, so for a freelancer, that should not be a barrier as to unless and until I get that studio quality, I won't be able to go forward in the market. People will accept you if your content is good. If you have a great technical, I mean excellent,
Content is good.
as far as technicality is concerned, it's great. But if the content is not good, nobody is going to come and repeat buy your products. So that's it.
No, Anjan, thank you,
The
for sharing
willingness,
this. Yeah, yeah. Yes,
I
just
Sujit.
to
think
add on to
network
what
problem.
Anjan has said, the
So
willingness
yeah,
has to be
the what I
greater than the methodology. So that's it.
Yeah. No, I think
Hello.
the
no
reason I
no
asked you this
absolutely
question was
absolutely.
specifically to
I'll tell you,
address
a
people,
Boya mic,
who
simple Boya
think that
mic
they
will
need
cost you
something
around 2,000
extraordinary to
rupees
create something.
and
Yeah.
probably if you do your video, if you're doing a screen recording,
Right.
Flashback Pro is a good editor. Screen recording, that even if you take the paid version, that's some 1700, 1800 rupees. And Filmora, if you are using video editing software, even if you are taking the paid version,
Right.
so the entire thing, and these are microphones and screen record, these are one-time investment. Probably a video
Right.
editor might have some monthly subscription that should also not be more than 1500, 1600 rupees. So within 5,000 rupees you can create great content. No need to get into expensive,
Right.
because you can spend on them. You first need to go to the market, sell them, get the money, and then spend.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Mhm.
And one final specific question about the course creations, right? See, obviously, this question is not valid. Different topics, you will have to run the due course of it. Some may take 2 hours, some may take 5 hours. But
Don't.
is there something called as an optimum course length from a time perspective? Right. Got it. Yeah. Just wanted to hear it from you, Anjan. That's about it. So, guys, it's been, I'll tell you, nothing short of amazing. It's just been, eye opening stuff that I've heard from you. Having been in the sales background myself, and then, hearing you talk about cracking a new business, cracking the sales, and then, some of the things that you've shared specifically with respect to the training domain is been like amazing. One of the best training related podcasts that I've had, hands down, especially from a sales perspective, right? I've had people talk about techniques and stuff like that, about their what they train. But at the end of the day, there are trainers out there who are starting off, who I think who need to hear you guys talk, and then they at least have a direction to go towards, how to crack sales, some actionable methods you've really mentioned. And I'm really thankful and grateful to you for that. Before we end the session, I'd like to, on a lighter note, would you like to, each of you, would you like to share three of the books that you've recently read that would make a difference to people who are listening? If you're readers, that is. I'm sorry to assume.
Ye- So the top three books in my list that I think every entrepreneur or every one should read
Yeah.
is, the first is The Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yeah.
And the second book is by Subrata Bagchi. The name of the book is The High Performance Entrepreneur. And the third book I would name is Triggers. That is by
And,
the leader, Marshall Goldsmith. These are the three books that I
and
would
the
recommend
one book
someone
that
to read.
Very interesting. I've heard the
propelled the
first two
decision
books,
to
never
leave
heard
and
of
start
Triggers. I'll check it out.
the entrepreneurship journey was Rich Dad Poor Dad. So that had a great impact.
Right, right. No, that's a book that I get a
Yes,
lot
yes.
from a
We
lot
even
of people.
started
Even
off with.
though it might look a little basic or whatever it is, a lot of people start off with that book, and then they
Thank you.
great, great.
Yeah, it was. It
Guys,
was. I
thank you
mean,
once again.
uh,
Before
it
I,
was great talking to you.
yeah, please.
You threw the relevant questions, and even that keeps the conversation flowing. We love talking to you.
Thank you.
And we
Been a
also
pleasure.
loved
Absolutely, absolute
we
honor.
also we also love to talking to you, and it's an honor to get invited by you to speak in a podium like this.
No, the pleasure is all mine. I'm just excited for this particular session to be out as soon as possible.